canoe. Front of the canoe is we call the bow, and you'll hear me talk about the bow paddler and the stern paddler, the person in the back of it, okay? Canoe's got the same shape on both ends. Do you know how you can tell the bow from the stern? One way is to look at the seats. Now, these seats are molded to fit your butt, so, you know, they kind of face a certain way. Canoes sometimes have flat seats that don't have any molding in them. But the placement of the seat tells you the bow from the stern. Because the bow paddler has to have room for his legs, and the stern paddler is close to the back. His legs stick out here. All right? This is called the yoke. This is where you pick it up and your neck rests in here and these rest on your shoulders when you're carrying it. And that's another quick way to tell the bow, because this cutout for the neck always points towards the bow. This is a thwart. Only the yoke has the cutout. You'll see thwarts behind, in front of, sometimes small ones near the ends of the canoe, depends on how long the canoe is. Front and rear decks of the canoe. The keel is this imaginary line that runs from here all the way along the bottom to the back. All right. Some canoes, like aluminum canoes, that are not molded this way, but they're made out of two halves that are put together, they actually have a ridge that runs along the bottom of the canoe. And that is good for tracking and stability. It's not so good for turning, all right? This canoe, you can see, has nothing like that along the bottom, all right? So this one isn't so good for tracking in a straight line, but it's really easy to turn. These parts of the canoe that run along both sides are called the gunnels. And you'll hear me talk about when you're moving in the canoe, to hold on to the gunnels, not to the yoke or the thwarts. Rocker. Rocker is the amount that a canoe curves up here from the water line, and front and back. The more rocker a canoe has, the easier it is to turn, the easier it is to maneuver in whitewater. The less rocker it has, the more it sits right down, the straighter it'll track.
So is this rocker low or high?
This is moderate to low, all right? Tumble home. And to explain tumble home, because this canoe doesn't have a lot of tumble home, at the widest part of the canoe, it can then start to narrow in as it comes up. A lot of the rental canoes that we're going to have up there have more tumble home, and what that is that gives you some clearance so that you can get over the gunnel with your paddle and get your paddle into the water. The water line on the canoe will come somewhere around here, depending upon how much weight you have in it. Of course, the more you put in it, the lower it rides in the water. Canoes have a really shallow draft, which is the amount from the water line to the very bottom of the canoe. You can get canoes into really, really shallow places easily. And then the line that comes from like the water line up to the top of the canoe is what they call freeboard. Now, if you've never been in a canoe before, the first time you get in it, and especially if you're tripping and there's stuff in the canoe, packs like this that load it down, you're going to think, man, I'm about to sink here, because you got maybe this much, 4 or 5 inches of freeboard from the water line to the top of the canoe. It's amazing. This thing is rated to carry almost 1,000 pounds.
Whoa!
And so, canoes can carry an incredible amount of weight. And yeah, you do kind of feel like you're sitting close to the water, but it's nothing to worry about. That's the way they're designed, and that's the way they're meant to work. All right, there's one other term that I want to explain to you. Caitlin, would you get the map out of the bag there and hand that to me? This canoe happens to be 15 feet 8 inches long. It's a little bit of a stubby canoe. Average canoe is about 16 and a half feet long. 16 and a half feet is a measurement called a rod. And portages, where you carrying the canoe from one lake to the other are measured in rods. And so if I show you here, the very first portage that we will have to do, coming from, well, this is Clearwater Lake right here, and the lodge is down here in this corner. So we're going to be paddling down into this little bay, and then here's the portage that kind of curves back through here to Caribou Lake. This portage from this point to this point is 210 rods, about 2/3 of a mile. Now, if is anybody interested in the map and compass reading thing that I said I would do if they wanted?
By the way, he said that they would do a compass and map reading afterwards at his house.
Or you can come back and drive home.
Or
whatever.
yeah. If we're going to stick around for the map and compass reading, I'll show you why that is not as scary as it looks. Okay? But that's what we're doing, and as you can see, I'll just let you guys take a look at this. Various portages on there are marked in various distances and things like that. But that's what they're talking about. It's a multiple of canoe lengths. There's 320 rods to a mile, 160 rods to a half a mile, quarter miles, 80 rods, eighth of a mile, 20 or 40. So you can see, get a kind of an estimate just from the length, how far you're going to be carrying stuff. All right. And again, any questions, just interrupt me.
How many
Yes.
people going to the canoe? Only two?
This
Or
is
three.
this is outfitted for 2 people right now because I have 2 seats and the portage yoke is in the middle and we can't take that out. However, you could put more people in this canoe. They would just have to ride kind of like this. And when you're sitting this low, you can't really paddle. All right, you have to be up on the seat a little bit like that. Should you find yourself needing to paddle, you want to get up on your knees. But you can put as many people in the canoe as doesn't sink it.
Thank
And
you.
as you have room.
Because you say, holds up to 1,000 pounds.
Yes.
The canoes we're going to rent up there, are they going to be bigger than that, smaller than that one?
They are going to be longer and lighter.
Oh,
The
okay.
canoes that we're going to rent for our trip into the wilderness are made out of Kevlar, the same stuff they make bulletproof vests out of. It's very rugged and very lightweight.
Not as rugged as these, though, so you don't want to run it into any branches or anything because those may very well pierce a Kevlar canoe,
Alright.
and canoe with a hole in it will take you to the bottom very quickly.
All right. The dock, and it's really easy to get in the canoe and get going. But then you're going to come to that point of the portage where you've got to get out of the canoe, pick it up, and carry it to the next lake. All right. So that's why I say wear shoes that you don't mind getting wet, but they ought to be shoes that have traction on them because sometimes the portage trails are slippery, they have rocks on them, and from personal experience I tell people, if possible, have ankle support. Very first wilderness trip I went on, a friend of mine from work was wearing these kinds of shoes on the portage trail. He twisted his ankle, he couldn't carry a thing the rest of the week. So we were doing double duty carrying all the stuff that he was supposed to do. All right, so there is an art to picking up a canoe. Now this canoe, I'm going to confess, this canoe is heavy. This canoe weighs about 80 pounds. The ones we're going to have up there weigh about 42. All right, so if you can pick this thing up and get it up on your shoulders, you will have no trouble at all up there. All right. If you're right-handed, you want to stand on the left side of the canoe. That's the bow, so this is the left side. If you're left-handed, you're going to want to be on the right side. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to stand over here. Jamie, you might want a video from the end in order to catch what I'm going to do here.
I'm using it for stability here.
You want to stand slightly forward of the yoke, just a little bit in front of it. Grab the gunnels with both hands, lift up, and rest this on your thighs. All right? Right hand down here, left hand. Yeah, that's got to go on the other side. Left hand up here, right hand here. I'm going to get my right hand down here on the gunnel. I'm going to rock a little bit. 1,
2,
3. And there you go. All right, if you're left-handed, so that your left hand is the strongest, you want in on the lower side while you're lifting. Now, it's perfectly acceptable to get help.
Oh my god.
All right? Because like I said, this is a heavy canoe, and we'll be happy to help you, but anybody that wants to gets to try this. And setting the canoe down is just the opposite of what I just did. You're gonna heft it up, onto the hips, and then down.
if you want to show them what ankle support and such.
Oh, these are custom-made portage boots. They dry really quickly. They drain water out of them really good, and as you can see, they've got ankle support. You paid
120 some for those.
All right, don't expect you guys to do that. High-top tennis shoes, hiking boots that you just know are going to get wet, and they're going to be wet, so you bring an extra pair of shoes along. That works fine. Like I said, I recommend ankle support ever since that guy twisted his ankle. All right, who wants to try picking up the canoe?
Let me see one more time.
All right.
Andrew, doing it? Yeah, he's okay.
All right. He gets it up, bend your legs, get it up on your hips. Your strong hand down at the bottom. You can either grasp the yoke or up here on the gunnel. Rock and up.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
And then this thwart line is mainly to
Balance it?
make it easier to balance, because otherwise
It goes
you're holding
back
it
and
like
forth.
this, your arms will get tired if you're not used to it. You hold it down here like this,
Wrap your hand in there a couple of times to take the slack
and
out of
then
the line.
it's you can just leave your hand down there, push it forward, pull it back to move it up and down. It's much easier to balance, much less exhausting.
So only one person can carry the canoe?
Yes, yeah. If you try to do it with one person on each end, you're going over all this rugged ground and you're jarring your back and falling down and everything like that. It's much, much better for one person to carry.
And once you get it up, it's not that bad.
Yep, I mean it's resting.
What?
I can see where you're going.
You can see Jesus.
You lift it up and
Tilt
you
it up a
look
little
down.
bit. Yeah.
I can like run into like a tree, like a bang.
See, because like his line of vision.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here.
You have a very big hat, sir.
Canoe head. That's literally what they call us. When you're portaging, you're a canoe
A
head.
canoe head.
All right, let's give everybody a chance to pick it up with assistance. You can go Berto. You want to try it? All right.
You want to
Good luck.
try just holding it with assistance, or do you want to try picking it up from the ground?
Don't get dehydrated.